Persuasive techniques, the tools used to persuade someone. But what persuasive techniques exist? And are there persuasive techniques that are better than others? Let's find out. Welcome authors to Next Level Writing. In this video, we will identify 30 persuasive techniques. This will be helpful when you are analysing persuasive text or when you are required to write your own. To make it easy to understand the difference between the 30 persuasive techniques, we will place the techniques into categories: the good, the bad, the ugly, and the evil. Let's look at the first category. First up, the good. These techniques are arguably the most persuasive techniques. They are generally rooted in truth and focus on persuading the reader in an honest way. Number 1, facts. Explicitly stating facts from studies, research, or news will help to support your argument in a very persuasive way. Number 2, humour. Humour is an excellent way to build trust with your audience. It is also a great way of making sure the audience is paying attention. Number 3, repetition, repetition, repetition. Repeating words, phrases, sounds, or images will reinforce your argument and really persuade an audience. Number 4, the rule of 3. If you say something 3 times or give 3 examples or explanations, people tend to believe it more. The rule of 3 is a very persuasive technique. Number 5, a neutral voice. Using a neutral voice makes your argument sound logical rather than emotional, and a logical argument has a higher chance of persuading a broader audience. Number 6, rhetorical questions. These questions don't need an answer because the answer is implied in the question. It is usually something the listener or audience will agree with. Isn't that a great persuasive technique? Number 7, analogy. This is where you compare 2 situations. It is when you compare what you are proposing or your argument with something simple and clear that the audience is already familiar with. Number 8, anecdotes. These are short stories that will be used to prove or unprove a point. They are very persuasive because everybody loves a good story. The next category is the bad. While these techniques may be persuasive, there is a level of trickery used within each of them. This means that if a reader catches on that you are trying to trick them, they will not be persuaded. Number 9, charisma. This is when people use their magnetic personality to be warm, welcoming, and make bold, confident statements to charm people. Politicians and CEOs use these tactics every time and can convince people even if they are wrong. Number 10, extrapolation. This is when you mislead someone by drawing huge conclusions from small or basic facts. It is sometimes referred to as a slippery slope and focuses on building fear in the audience. Number 11, flattery. This is when you overly praise someone in order to persuade someone. It's great for the ego, but a poor persuasive technique. Number 12, generalities. This is when you use power words like fresh, freedom, or pure that have no specific meaning in order to persuade someone. Number 13, brand new. Sometimes to persuade someone, you might call your idea new. This will make them instantly think that it's better than the old ideas, but that is not necessarily the case. Opposite to the previous technique is number 14, nostalgia. This is about painting a nice picture about the past, a time when things were simpler and better. This is a great strategy for an older audience. Number 15, bandwagon. This technique builds on the fear of people missing out. In other words, you are trying to say to the audience, everyone else believes this, why don't you? Number 16, hyperboles. Similar to metaphor, these are dark days, and similes, she looks like a princess, hyperboles are comparisons but are even more exaggerated and ridiculous. Number 17, slogans. Slogans are short phrases that are used to influence people to do something. They can be extremely persuasive if they get inside the audience's head. We now move to the next category of persuasive techniques, the ugly. These are ugly techniques because they put to use skills of manipulation in order to trick the audience. Let's have a look. Number 18, stereotyping. This is when you attack the arguments of the other people using negative stereotypes. These negative stereotypes usually are based around race, gender, or culture. Number 19, playing folks. This is when you as a persuader try and pretend that you are just like the audience. You usually nestle up to them and say, hey, I'm just like you, so you should listen to what I have to say. Number 20, divine sanction. This is when an argument is linked towards some divine authority. This is done to try and emphasize that you cannot argue with this point because it has come from a greater being. Number 21, sensationalism. This is when you present a story and then emphasize that this proves that a particular side is evil or up to no good. Number 22, ad hominem. This is Latin for against the man and involves attacking the person rather than the idea they are presenting. This often happens when someone does not have a good argument against an idea. Number 23, straw man. This is when someone takes an argument and twists the words to make the argument sound illogical and irrelevant. This is a very ugly technique indeed. The fourth and final category is the evil. These techniques are rooted in deception and are often used as tools for propaganda. If you see or hear these techniques being used, beware the source. They are definitely up to no good. Number 24, card stacking. This is when you take only one side of the argument and completely ignore the other side. In other words, you are putting all the relevance in your opinion. Number 25, character assassination. This is when you focus on destroying the credibility of a person or organization that is against you, using false accusation, planting rumors, and manipulating information. Demonization. This is when you associate all faults or arguments against your point to one particular group in order to make them sound evil and irrelevant. A very nasty technique to use. Number 27, scapegoating. This is a propaganda trick where you take all the problems of an argument and associate it with one person or a group of people. It aims to build negative emotions rather than logic. Number 28, polarization. Think of this as an us versus them mentality that people try to use to persuade others to believe them. It can't be my fault, it's definitely theirs. Number 29, name calling. This is also strictly a propaganda technique where you denigrate opponents or people who disagree with your argument by calling them names. After all, who could believe them when they're scum between my toes? And number 30, the big lie. Make a lie big, make it simple, keep saying it, and eventually people will believe it. People are suspicious of small lies more than the big ones, and big lies exploit our biases. Think conspiracy theories and alternative histories. And that, authors, is that 30 persuasive techniques, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the evil. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, and as always, keep striving to take your writing to the next level.